Right, it may seem funny that I'm wearing the helmet, but yeah, we've got the scooter all hired, so we're about to head off and have a look and see all this Corflute advertising. 9 days out from the Australian election, so this is just a video, bit of an information session on my thoughts on some of the candidates and some of the parties involved and some of the advertising.
In the seat of Capricornia, there are 9 candidates, up from the 7 that there were in 2019. Catter's Australia Party ran a candidate in the last election, but have no presence in this electorate this time around. However, other parties, including United Australia, which is Clive Palmer's personal party, as well as other smaller fringe parties, have come to the aid to boost the numbers and to give voters an increased choice.
So we're alongside the approach to the new bridge, which isn't really that new. Now, the reality is, along this road were the most road signs. Now we'll go back a little further down the road and show us the candidates on this side of the road, and then we go down the other side of the road, heading down towards Yeppoon Way and Frenchville, and we'll be able to see some more. Most of the candidates look as though they have at least some sort of representation, or at least even their parties do. It's a wide field wider than what was 3 years ago, and it certainly is as wide as any, because they're all with different agendas.
Drawing number 1 for One Nation is their new candidate, Kylie Stanton. Described as a jack of all trades, based in Mackay, having worked in many vocations in the past, she has the unenviable task of trying to maintain a high personal vote as well as the One Nation vote, which reached over 17% in the 2019 election. An unenviable task, but drawing number 1 does have its advantages.
Last election, this house in this area were covered in One Nation paraphernalia. It was very much an all-in effort, and it paid some dividends. They got nearly 18% of the vote. Unfortunately, this time around, perhaps it's the low-profile nature of the candidate. Perhaps it's the actual fact that Hanson herself is running for her Senate seat, and the funds need to be diverted into that. That the One Nation paraphernalia is missing from this area.
Drawing number 2 on the ballot paper, representing the Informed Medical Opinions Party, is Paula Ganfield. Ganfield has lived in Victoria and Western Australia in the past, but has been based on the Capricorn coast for many years, indeed the last 10, and was even a candidate for Keppel in the 2020 state in Queensland. The Informed Medical Opinions Party basically is an anti-compulsory vax party, looking for pro-choice, something that may appeal to voters given the last 2 years. The Informed Medical Opinions Party is also running a Senate ticket. They are unlikely to make an impact given the crowded nature of the senators contesting what many seem to believe is just one open spot. Representing the Greens, and having drawn number 3 on the ballot paper, Mick Jones owes his life to nurses and doctors around Central Queensland University, having developed health problems upon moving here from Mount Isa. Unfortunately, given the Greens' stronghold are inner capital city electorates, the Greens have no real impact in the regional cities, and in their advertising have concentrated largely on their Senate campaign, where they are hoping to double their presence in Queensland in the Senate. For the second consecutive election, Russell Robertson, a miner out at Moranbah, has the honour of representing the Labor Party. He will need to make up an 11% deficit on two-party preferred terms, and will be hoping that a collapse in the minor party vote, particularly in One Nation, gives him more of a benefit. Despite having the backing of unions, indeed a lot of his political ads are endorsed by the unions, it is an uphill task considering the bulk of the electorate is located in Rockhampton.
Of course, the main street isn't exactly the only place we can see advertisements for candidates. Occasionally you have to battle with other advertising space. I mean, would you rather vote for Kylie Stanton, or would you rather go and see Jersey Boys?
Teacher Steve Murphy is the candidate for the Liberal Democrat Party. Of course, their name will change after this election, given the confusion between Liberal Democrats and the Liberal Party itself, leading to the change in legislation. The LDP aren't expected to make much of an impact in the House of Reps, but watch for them in the Senate, for they have attracted the services of one-time Premier Campbell Newman.
The Liberal Democrats obviously have trouble trying to find the right places to advertise. Maybe outside McDonald's is a good idea, although hiding it behind an armcade barrier and near a sign advertising a heritage flying show may not be the best idea. And so we'll upturn the mystery item. Whose image is on this Corflute that's been knocked over by the weather? Ah yes, here it is.
This will be Ken Murray's third attempt at the seat, each time running as an independent, although not really linked at all with the Teal Independents or the Voices for campaigns that have helped the independents in New South Wales and Victoria. Murray is yet to poll more than 5% in either of his two cracks, and is unlikely to do so this time. Murray's best bet is to capitalise on the anger against the majors and the disinterest in the freedom parties. When I first heard Nathan Harding was the candidate for the United Australia Party, I originally thought he was the High Five guy. Then I realised I had him confused with Tim Harding and Nathan Foley. With little advertising on the specific candidate, with Palmer of course concentrating on the nationalistic approach, which has annoyed, well, let's be honest, just about everyone, Harding, who's now studying an MBA, a postgraduate MBA, having already studied human resources and has a degree in the psychology of religion, faces an uphill task to win the seat that Palmer believes he can win. Then again, Clive himself has joined the crowded field in the Queensland Senate race, so I suppose any funds in Queensland may be diverted to him, which is hardly a surprise knowing the history of Palmer himself. Incumbent Michelle Landry is looking for her fourth term as the member for Capricornia. The Liberal member will also be hoping that the sector of ScoMo does not affect her in an adverse way. It doesn't in the party room in Canberra. She's considered a National Party member, even though the Liberal and National parties in Queensland are a merged entity. Being eighth on the ballot paper may be a disadvantage for her, but incumbency always tends to help, especially when it comes to the Liberal Party who are banking on it for people to keep their seats. Maybe not so much with an 11% margin that Landry holds, but in other seats where the margins up to 6-7% apparently are under threat. The Great Australian Party round out the field with their candidate Stephen Whitty. Whitty is the only candidate that has an IMDb profile on his resume, playing a doctor in a short film called Lost and Found, which was filmed around Rockhampton in 2018. The party themselves are basically trying to institute the Constitution as it was written, believing everything is, well, at the moment, anti-Constitution. If you must have a bet, then here's the latest odds for some of the professional markets, as well as my own market, which you can't bet on, but is probably more realistic of the actual odds. And as they say in the classics, please gamble responsibly. But not all advertising on the strip related to Capricornia candidates. Indeed, Lindsay Temple was an independent Senate candidate. And he decided, well, why not get in on the act? Sure, he's probably not going to get voted in, but props for trying. Oh, and whoever thought of this, thinking this was a good idea during election time, may or may not still have a job.
Naturally, much of the advertising and Corflutes, and even on anywhere other medium for that matter, becomes irrelevant when more people come to here. The James Lawrence Pavilion is where the voters in Rockhampton vote early. Naturally, with all these early voters, a lot of the people are out manning the booths. course, there are some people at the showgrounds who absolutely couldn't give a toss about the voting. They will care about the weather holding off so they can go speedway racing. And eventually, the early voting centres found their way into the north side of town. Here, across the road from Northside Plaza, advertisers went side by side, including, intriguingly enough, a semi-how-to-vote card, which some people may not follow. Indeed, the voting centre just in there is unmanned at the moment. After all, it is 10 o'clock at night. But come the morning, it'll probably be reasonably packed.